So Geert, today I would like to discuss the whole concept of high-performing teams. So I think that is something that we all aim for. A lot of organizations, they are building their own software, and of course everybody wants to be that high-performing organization with high-performing teams. And one thing that I was thinking about is, what is it that makes a high-performing team a high-performing team? Because is it only technical skills?
Yeah, it's what I see a lot as well, right? Everyone is talking about the 10x developers, the developers that can solve all the problems. But is that what makes a great team? And I think we can compare it maybe to sports. Are the best sports players in teams, are those the best teams? Let's do an episode about it.
Let's explore it in the next episode of the Lead Podcast.
The Lead Podcast, a podcast for leaders in engineering, architecture, and development.
So a 10x developer, that's what you often read about, hear about. Developers that are really good at coding, problem solving. They can have a certain idea and have that towards production in no time. That sounds like a really nice thing to have, right?
Yeah, and I think that for me, let's first explore a little bit more what defines a 10x developer, because I also heard a lot of things on the internet that is a term that we should not use, etc., etc. So what is our or your definition of a 10x developer if you use the whole internet as your inspiration source?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I totally agree with the term 10x developer and if we should aim for it, but that's maybe, we can explore that later on in this episode. But what it generally stands for when you listen to the internet as a source is people that are better at solving technical problems than others, right? If you have an idea for an application or you want to add some feature, those are the people that just do that in no time.
So building quickly, coding, getting up to speed very quickly with new technology.
Yeah, solving complex problems, writing really complex code that scales to millions of users. Those kind of expertise, having expertise on different levels, just being a know-it-all and someone that knows about it and also is able to execute it themselves.
Yeah. So the question that raises in my head when I hear the term, so let's skip the term of 10x developer because I do not really like it, but no. I think that we all know someone in your team or maybe in your organization that is that kind of person, that is the go-to person in your company when there's something wrong, when there's something crashing, when there is a problem, a technical question. That is the person that you actually go to for answers. And well, the question that I have is that actually a good thing that you have people like that in your team? Though the people that basically get all the work towards them.
At first glance, it looks like the kind of people that you want in your team, right? Because they are really good at what they should do, looking at especially the hard skills, just the things that they need to execute, they're really good at. But I think I always like to compare it with sports teams. Let's say you have a Ronaldo or Messi in football, where they are the star players, and the whole team plays in helping out that person shine. There's also a big risk if that person is not there.
Yeah. That is exactly what I'm also coaching a sports team for my kids, and I see exactly the same thing. I think that what makes the team that I'm coaching very strong is that we do not have really outliers. So we have all very good players, but there is no one really, really well. Sometimes it's the one, sometimes it's the other, but together as a group, they are so extremely strong. At the moment that someone enters the team that is exceptionally better than the rest, people start, lying back a bit and say, let that person handle the situation. In this case, the game.
Yeah, and I think without that really good player, you had a really high consistency. Maybe the peaks in performance of that star player were not reached, but having a great team overall, you can have a really high, consistent performance.
Yeah, exactly. Because also the teams that we play against, sometimes we play against teams that have one or two of these players. Yeah. And then we also play them without that player because he's sick, whatever. And then, the team is not as good at all. And that is a big thing. And I think the same applies to high-performing teams or teams within an organization that have exceptionally good people, and the rest is not up to par to that one.
Yeah, and of course, there's always the risk of that person not being there, right? So. In the book, the Unicorn Project, they talked about Brent, who was a know-it-all, and then try to eliminate that person from the picture to get the overall rest of the team to a higher level. And this can happen to the Brents in your organization as well, right? They can become sick or find another job, and then all of a sudden you're there without your star player.
Yeah, and I think there is also business risks involved if you have someone like that. So in a good case scenario, everything is fine, and there's only a little hard situation where the person is not there. But I think going to an extreme, if you have such a person that also is not completely happy. You also have really business risks, like I don't want a salary raise, otherwise I fill in the blanks, or people do not trust each other anymore, or people do stop working because everything is grabbed away by that person. So I think it's also can be a trigger for a not so safe environment within your organization. I think management, especially people management, needs to be really aware of these star players that on the one hand achieve your business goals, but on the other hand maybe have on the longer term a dramatic impact on your team.
Yeah, and looking at that, I think in the kind of digital solutions that we're building currently, it's not something that you can do on your own. It's not something one really, really good engineer can do. So you need to work as a team.
Yeah.
And what I often see is that these people lack those kind of skills.
Yeah, and because, I think it goes multiple ways. So on the one hand, I see the same thing, because the team is not really a team, but it's a group of individuals that can all do a trick. I think the most best example is, of course, again, we have a developer in the team, we have a UXer in the team, we have an ops guy in the team or a girl, we have a whatever in the team. So, all pretty good at their job, and they are all working on their own story, on the backlog, doing their own thing. So, very specialized individuals working in a group. So I think that's also nice to nice segue into. So what kind of skills, if you say it's too complex to do it on your own, so what kind of skills do you see in a team that should be there if we talk about complex software problems?
Yeah. So the first thing is the stuff that we talked about, the hard skills, solving complex problems, coming up with new solutions to build that feature, implementing it, coding it, etc. Right? The hard skills. Those are easy to measure someone on, to test if someone can do it. So that's often why you also hear he's he or she is a 10x developer because he or she is really good at those kind of things, the things that we can measure. But on the other hand, working in a team, as you just said, you're working with multiple people, so you need to communicate with those people. You need to make sure that everyone is aligned, that everyone knows about everything. So having the right social skills, communication skills, is also really key. Next to just having ways to communicate within your team, you're also building software for your customers. So you also need to know a bit about the business itself, like what are the problems that you're solving. Having that idea of how are we really solving the problems that the business needs is completely different from just implementing a certain idea.
Yeah, and I think that it's not only, you talked about communication, and I think there is also, more how do you convey the message of stuff that we want to build or the problem that we need to explain. But there is, and I think that is really an underestimated thing. There is people that I know in organizations, if you ask anybody like, what does this person actually do? The answer is sometimes, a lot of different things, and then but asking a little bit further, it's that social skill, that glue, that person that comes up to everybody. How was your weekend? What did you do? Oh, well, you look sad. You look happy. What did you do? The social glue, and some people are very, very skilled in that. But you need to have people in your team that have that capacity of socially gluing everything together by just being present, being there for just a cup of coffee or a talk.
Yeah, and maybe also like removing all kinds of impediments or things for people that they don't like. And of course, in our industry, often we say we have a Scrum Master, etc. for that. But I don't fully believe in having that as a designated person. Some people just do that by themselves, even if they don't have a designated role for that.
Yeah.
So one more thing that I wanted to focus on is, if you look at these being really good at problem solving and coming up with new ideas, something that's really related to that, often in the people that I see around me, is that they are often really perfectionists as well. Yeah. Because they are so knowledgeable, they know what is the very, very best way to do certain things, how to implement certain things.
Yeah.
But we're working in a certain field of business, and sometimes you don't have the time or budget to go for that perfect solution.
Yeah.
So being pragmatic about where should we focus on perfection, and where can we maybe choose a different solution that's a bit easier and faster to implement and is also good enough.
Yeah.
And the good enough is often not something that these perfectionists strive for, because they want to focus on the best.
Yeah, and I think that it also leads up to I think different types of people in your team. And I think that it is not enough to have only people that generate a lot of ideas, but you also need to have people that actually can transform that idea into a solution, or people that actually ask questions about whether it is feasible or a good idea, or did we think about X or X, Y, Z. And of course there is people that also need to actually do the work and bring it to the finish line. And I think that is also, at least in the people that I see around me, we are all really hardcore technicians. We want to learn new stuff. We want to do innovation. And that is quite some conflict with, okay, now we have this new technology, and now we need to work for another year to actually bring it to the finish line, because after a month, all these people are like, nah, that is now it lost its sparkle a little bit.
Yeah, and especially looking at all the things that you just mentioned, when you have certain people in your team who really decide the direction on their own, and really do not, if certain people decide all those things, you don't get these different questions. People don't ask questions anymore. They just take things for granted and go that route. So looking at these different types of people, I like to refer to the book by Patrick Lencioni, the 6 types of working geniuses.
Yeah, I've read that too.
Yeah. So what I liked about that is that naturally people have certain areas where they are good in looking at executing a certain piece of work.
Yeah. So Lencioni in the book describes we work in 3 phases. So we have ideation, and then we have how do you say it? Enablement. Like how can we actually start working? And then we have, of course, the delivery, or I don't know how he calls it exactly, the implementation phase. And exactly the 6 types of people in the different phases. For me, it was really an eye opener on, oh wow, this is really nice. So first of all, that these types of people exist, but also that some people get a lot of energy from certain tasks, and some people get really frustrated by constantly doing the things that they are asked to do. So maybe we should go through the model a little bit, because I really liked the model. So the six types.
One thing to mention that before we go into the 6 type of people is that this excludes the existence of these hero developers, 10x developers, because you're always strong in certain areas and then lacking certain other areas. There are no people that have strengths in all of these different areas.
Yeah. So if you go through the 6 types, so the first type is in the ideation phase, about people that wonder.
Yeah, wondering is really seeing things that might become a problem or might be a problem, which are not really visible as a problem yet.
Yeah, really asking the questions about why are we doing this? Why is this even there? Why is this happening? So I think very valuable people to have. And also the pitfalls of these people is that, of course, they can get stuck in asking questions the whole day, because if you ask questions the whole year, nothing will be produced in the end. So if you have only people that ask questions, you probably have a lot of backlog items, but probably not so much delivered work. So you also need to have people, the second type is people that are of the type invention, that get a lot of energy about, okay, I hear this problem, I hear this question, and I come up with all kinds of solutions, inventions, ideas on how can we tackle this problem, how can we really make this solved.
And it can be that someone is multiple types, right? But not all 6. But in general, what the book says is most people have like 2 areas in which they excel and which they get energy from.
Yes.
2 which they can compensate, do for a while, but not really get energy from, but they know it's important, so they can do it. And 2 are like in your energy drainers or allergy zone, right?
Yeah. Like I'm not ever going to do that, and not getting depressed.
Yeah. So the first 2 in ideation is wondering, coming up with why are we doing this, what can we do this in a better way, and then invention, actually taking these questions or ideas and putting them into
a solution. Yeah. So then the third type, and I think that is also very important, is people that start questioning the solutions, because coming up with ideas, for some people that is really easy, and they can come up with 20,000 ideas, but none of the 20,000 are completely feasible. So you need to have people, and that's the third type, the discernment. Need to have people that question the ideas. Have you thought of that? Is this going to work? This is not going to work because of a reason X, Y, Z. And I think that is also an important type to have in your team. People that really start discerning the solutions that you come up with.
Yeah, and that's why I also think that teams are always better than a single person, because even if you're both good at invention and discernment, discerning your own ideas is always quite hard, right? Because you come up with a new idea that you think is brilliant. It's really hard to also tackle that and see where the problems are. So that's where actually diversity also plays a role, right? People look at it from different angles, different backgrounds, and then come up with things that might not work, or come up with different ideas that you might not.
Yeah, and I think that for me, that is, if we talk about diversity and inclusion, I think this is the point that you are touching on is, for me, that is what it is all about. That is why you want women in your team. That is why you want people from different race and cultures in your team, because they look at things from a different perspective. They are other types of people generally, and I think that if you have this mix of different types mix, and also different cultures, different genders in your team, then you also get different perspectives, and especially in the discernment phase where you have a brilliant solution, but that only is applicable for this group of people, then you need all these other people to say, well, that is not really happening for this group of people.
It goes in most phases, I think, because also wondering, like, you can also wonder, what would happen if we look at this problem from a different gender? Maybe then it is a problem for that gender and not for the other one.
As well.
So in each phase, it has some ideas. So we're getting a bit distracted, but from discernment, we go into the galvanizing.
Yeah. And galvanizing is more rallying people around the idea. So then you have this idea, it has been discerned, so it is a little bit more refined, and it is quite feasible. But then you need to make other people enthusiastic. And what the book also says is that phase is sometimes skipped, because then we have an idea, we refine it a bit, or maybe not even, and we directly go into implementation phase. But rallying the people, making people enthusiastic, going into your organization, into your team, and saying, oh, well, this is an idea. What do you think about it? We need to, basically it's change management.
It's also alignment.
And selling,
right?
and alignment of, well, this is an idea, this is what we are going to do, and this is the impact on everybody. And then people get started enthusiastic to actually start working. You need that phase to be successful in the end. Yeah,
and it's also chasing people to actually get the stuff done, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So that is I think people that like project leadership, people that can really, product owners that can sell their ideas into the organization, get the budget, and make people really happy about an idea, but then also chasing the people that it is going to happen. I think that is also very, very important phase.
Yeah, so then we go to the next one, which is enablement, and that's really about starting the actual implementation and making sure that you are able to execute it.
Yeah. That others are able to execute it. I think that there was a nice phrase that you make people successful on their terms. So you enable them to be successful. So it's not the hero developer that says, well, let me do it and I will code it in my evening hours and then it's working. No, it's like, okay, how can I enable others, my whole team or my whole organization, to be successful? Yeah, and then I think the last phase, which in our organization at least, we do not have a lot of those people, and that is tenacity. People that like hold on and bring it to the finish line, even when the work gets really, really hard and it gets really, really annoying to do the same things or to solve the problems or to constantly communicate about things.
Yeah, I think that's, for me personally, that's where my allergy zone is. I always get energy from new ideas, new inventions, etc. instead of maybe pulling that previous one over the finish line. If I can see it going towards the finish line, then I'm pretty sure it will get the finish line.
But
someone needs to do it. Right?
It's an assumption that it will. But if you do not have a team that is actually shaped in a form that there are people that can actually drag it to the finish line or galvanize people to, come on, we need to actually do this, then you are, I think, in trouble. And I think, what I like about the 6 Working Genius, that is the book of Lencioni.
There's different models.
There is different models. There is also Belbin and Insights and the DISC, but it is all about, there is different types of people with different traits.
Yeah, and different types of communication.
Exactly. And you can only be a successful team if you have all the different types of people, or a fair deal of all these different types of people in your team, because then you have the complete palette of
that's
things.
also something that we should hire for, right? So if I look at most of the of people trying to hire someone, they focus on the hard skills. They list a number of hard skills that you need, and of course you also need to be a team player, blah blah, all the default stuff. But you hardly ever see, like, we really search for someone that pulls those things over the finish line, or we're looking for this person that's really good at galvanizing the rest of the team, etc. Right? So those traits, I would like to see that more when you hire people. So you're also actually looking for a team that's well-rounded in all these different areas.
And I think it starts with awareness, because we have all the tendency to hire ourselves. We look for the traits that we like, and those are usually, unfortunately, the traits that we have ourselves, because that is us. So, and I think that confirmation bias of this person acts like how I should act, so that is good. I think we should leave that, so being aware of that, and I think you should create a map of your team, like what types of people do I have in my team. If I do not have finishers in my team, please hire a finisher instead of another great idea generator, because that is not going to help you in the end.
So if you've done that, right? So let's say you have a well-rounded team, then they also need to take a role in an organization where they can perform on a high level, right? So even the best teams do not perform in pretty bad organizations. And I think we already talked about these kind of things in previous episodes, but let's elaborate a bit on it. We still need an environment where the team can build on, has a form of trust. Autonomy.
Psychological safety. The episode that we did with Arthur Dohler a while back, and we talked about value stream teams already. And I think that is the environment that needs to be there, because otherwise your team can be perfectly shaped. But if they are still constrained to everything that needs to be done in a certain specific way, then probably also not really going to be a high performance team.
Yeah, and also when we discuss these different types of people, you need to have the right psychological safety and trust to also allow these people to go in this certain role, to be galvanizing, or to be in the discernment role where you criticize ideas from someone else, right? You need to have a certain trust level, so you can also have constructive conflicts that really are constructive instead of ruining morale or
and I think what I liked in the TED Talk recently is like you can have conflict also with your kids, for example, and that is all fine, and it can also sometimes emotions can get very high. But what you really need to learn, and I think it also is applicable for your team, is that you need to be a good repairman or woman. So you need to repair. So if you have a conflict, and maybe even a big argument or even a fight, that you can go back and say, well, this is what happened. This was me. This was my fault, or this is how I reacted. And let us come back together. Let us repair and go on. And I think that if you are a good repair person, that is also the base of trust. That doesn't mean that you should always agree with each other. Yeah. You can have conflict, and I think, well, you really need to talk about these things in your team. So if you are in the team, for example, start by who are we? What do we value? What are our values as a team? What are the different working types in our team? Who is good in doing what? And hire for that. So that we do not, if we have a good team, hire that hero.
Yeah. Yeah, or not let anyone become that hero, because you make sure that you do things together. Everyone's involved, everyone can have their opinion, everyone can have discussions, and everyone takes a role in your whole process. So you can also have the same quality without one hero solving the problem. And especially these hero cultures, they often also have a pretty bad, it comes back to the culture of a company where these heroes are often rewarded, which leads into more heroism, which leads to a worse culture in the end, right? So we tend to reward the saviors, the person that shouts the loudest of solving a certain problem, and we often do not reward the person that made sure there were no big problems that occurred, right? But only the person that had a big problem and solved it is rewarded. So yeah, that's where I think you should focus on more on a team level, rewarding teams for being really valuable instead of being that certain hero in the team.
Yeah, so to summarize a bit, I think we talked a lot about high performance teams and what is a high performing team. I think that we all agreed that it's not only about the hard skills, but also about the social skills and the business skills, but really take a good look at the composition of your team. Do you have the different types of people in your team? So based on diversity and inclusion, but also on what type of work do people do, and what type of work get people energized.
Yeah, and putting people in the stuff that they are energized in, they often perform a lot better than having to do all of those different areas.
Yeah, I think that we basically explored the topic.
Great.
I hope that you, as a listener, liked the conversation as well. If you want to read up a little bit more on the things that we discussed, I think that we highly recommend the book of Patrick Lencioni, The Six Working Genius. And I think for the next time.
Yeah. Hopefully you're listening again in 2 weeks.
Yep. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Lead Podcast, a podcast for leaders in engineering, architecture, and development.